Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It was a bit, I say slower pace. I was getting ready to say slower pace game here from KONGDOO, but still sub 30 minutes, 29 and a half there on the clock as they take the win, just out metagaming KONGDOO Monster here. Across the rift, left and right, KONGDOO constantly having to try to invest 5 members into getting a single kill. And they just suffered losses around the map from there.
Yeah, KONGDOO were definitely interested in getting on the kill board, and 6-9 certainly doesn't tell the tale of the game, because like you say, the investments required to pick up those kills were not worth. Felt like the sort of strategy that may have worked, in more early days of League, Season 2 for example, before all these rotational plays and rotational styles overtook the meta. And while it would have been a bit of a confidence booster to not be just blown over as they were against KT, they were not in this game for long, and credit to Peanut, jumping on the new age counter pick, or even bringing back an old counter pick into junglers like Skarner. Previous metas we have seen the Olaf, and I do like it if you want a battle ward against a Skarner.
Well, he'll go ahead and move up into that third place tie that we have currently going on here so far. So 3 members tied for third place, and an uncharacteristic shift here for KONGDOO, going for the bot lane first. Peanut immediately attacks that with the Olaf, didn't see it coming at all, no wards prepped. They get the first blood,
Raze
gets the steal.
Smites too early, and then second smite for Peanut, on point on that one. And he kind of set the tone of the early game with the bot lane game that, like you say, was very unexpected, and then stole the Baron. So who else but Peanut, and what was a team performance by KONGDOO DragonX?
Well, very nicely done here by KONGDOO. Get the win. Rascal gets some more play time. We hear that music. I wonder if there's going to be some swaps. We zoom in. KONGDOO like they're going to be changing things up. So Ray's going to be out. Yujun coming in.
Yujun coming in for, I believe, his 4th game so far. You can see his champion pool.
Hasn't been much.
He has been able to evolve. He had some nice moves last time out on the Sejuani. Was in the right spot. His first game on the Lee Sin. Struggled pretty heavily to read the pace of the game. Takes a lot of time to step up from solo queue jungling to jungling at the LCK level. Feels like a new game more so than any other position.
But wait, there's more.
Okay, so even changes on the other side of the rift with KONGDOO DragonX. We won't be seeing Khan today, so they've decided to field him after resting him for game 1. Shows everyone at home that he's still in good spirits. Peanut also, win MVP, be removed. Clearly, this is a pre-planned decision coming through from KONGDOO DragonX, and it also means that their entire roster will play on the same day for, I believe, the first time this season.
Yeah, so it's just going to be mixing things up a little bit, kind of experimenting with who plays better with who. So swap out there on the jungle and top, like you said. Seems like this is obviously going to be something that was pre-planned here from the side of KONGDOO. Otherwise, no real reason to swap anybody. The Camille got battered a little bit in the early game, but Rascal, I mean, he held his own in the end. He was going for the split push.
It was just Scion things in the
good
lane.
Stuff.
Nothing really much you can say about Scion lanes when it comes to going competitive or even getting a small lead. Wasn't able to translate that into much. Game 2, gonna be rolling on. See the coaches in the booth. Let's get started on Achilles. We may actually have, like you mentioned, a long break between series.
Yeah, might be one of the longest ones that we've had so far, especially if this is another, sub 30-minute game. As we go in, KONGDOO over onto the blue side, still going to be banning away that Zoe, keeping it out of Edge's hands.
And with the double sub of bringing in Khan and Kaz, it's back to the Longzhu Gaming lineup that won the championship just over I believe about 6 months ago. So cool to see them back on the Rift. It's been sparing this season, only the 5th game for Kaz into the roster, and seeing the bans rolled back a bit. The Zoe ban once again. So a very heavy Varus priority from the side of KONGDOO Monster, and with the Olaf pick, KONGDOO were happy to have that one left open. Now with Kuz in the lineup, bit of an adjustment in 2 roles.
My question is, are we going to see 3 mid lane bans from KONGDOO? Could just end up leaving the Rise open, and that might just get snatched up at first pick here for BDD.
They definitely seem to be picking for something like a Xayah Rakan on red side, but we could still see the Xayah taken at first pick. So Kalista and Xayah both left available. And as you mentioned, something like a Rise. To me, those are the 3 big picks, and the Sejuani as a fallback. See what KONGDOO want to ban here. They will ban the Kalista, so saying, hey, we want to take Xayah Rakan on red side and not have a power duo to face it outside of the Caitlyn that Prey hasn't been playing this season. So might see a Xayah first pick as an answer to stop there being any shenanigans on red side.
Yeah, which might just lead to another Rise here for Edge.
I mean, Rise Sejuani has a lot of power to be picked up on red side. Could be Rise and the Skarner if Yujin's been practicing it as well. With Kuz in the lineup, no guarantee he's also been Olaf jungling in solo queue. But with the Rise left open, the new age mid laner is largely the Taliyah. So seeing if the reach will be there. So much left available. KONGDOO want to think about the mid laner a bit longer. They flash the Taliyah, they flash the Rise, they go with the Sejuani. So what the secondary pick is to complement the draft, because it's probably going to be a mid laner with how much power is left available.
KONGDOO just wanted to get something very standard locked in here for Yujin. So he will have that reliable Sejuani, and they're going to avoid it so far. Not going to be touching the mid lane at all, so the Taliyah and the Rise both available. We'll see if KingZone want to go ahead and dance this dance against KONGDOO and continue to leave the mid lane open.
They're obviously going to lock in the Rakan, but they're using this time to consider their next pick. I think a mid laner, there's already 3 banned away, so I'm surprised that KONGDOO didn't reach for one, because it doesn't feel like they claimed much with their focus on banning away first the Kalista and then mid laners, because now they've only picked up the Tahm Kench as an answer to Xayah Rakan, and Rakan is so good at tying up the Tahm Kench that even fully disengaging is super difficult to do without cleanse and flash up against the Rakan.
Yeah, I mean, you might get the Devour there onto your ADC, but if you get popped up in the air, you're not going anywhere, so still could get taken down. Seems like it's just going to be a lot of poke here from the side of KONGDOO Monster, with the Caitlyn locked in here for Soul.
Gets a lot of lane priority, especially early before there isn't a full round for the Xayah. Xayah Rakan lane can beat Caitlyn Tahm Kench, but I think a lot of it depends on who gets to lane first. Level 2 advantage if it goes the way of Xayah Rakan. There's so many options that you can actually beat a Caitlyn lane. All heads up, so going to be watching to see if anyone starts camping the most advanced brush in bot lane to try to create some shenanigans at level 1. Speaking of shenanigans, seems like KingZone don't want to deal with the Syndra that's been picking up a little bit in the LCK. Kuro playing that one recently. The Syndra ban comes in. Riot doesn't want to just be free food for the Unleashed power.
Last ban here, Camille. So bit of a flex. KingZone still looking for that top and jungler position. Takes the Camille out of either.
And there is, of course, the J. The Jace is still available.
Yes.
For Khan on this side. So while you feel good about banning away the Camille, the Jace could just be the result if KONGDOO want to last pick their top lane.
Even if not, might just be seeing perhaps the Sion locked in here for KONGDOO, which Khan will be happy to take the Jace into all the same.
Wow, you say happy. His interview after playing on Jace vs Sion.
He says it's exhausting to play against, but
his frustration at playing against the Sion. The words he used are probably not broadcast appropriate, so we'll just say exhausting. That's a nice way to put it. Nice turn of phrase there.
That's anyone into Sion. So the Jace probably going to be a bit more comfort for him, but we'll see.
Kind of have to.
Ooh, okay.
They kind of have to last pick for top lane. Otherwise, if they lock in Gnar, it will be Jace, and it will be hell in the top lane. So they have to try and give some coverage to Roach and hope that Khan himself jumps onto the Gnar. This is likely to be a Jax jungle, but it could still be Jax top from Khan. We saw Untara play the Jax, and the Gnar is so safe that I think it just will be the lock-in for Khan. So people looking for a Riven are going to sadly be very disappointed when the Gnar is most likely going to be locked in. It's 10 games of Gnar this season for Roach. So against other members, he would have locked in the Gnar at the Cassiopeia pick because of it being the Jace aficionado Khan's Jace. They had to deal with that respectfully. See what Roach wants to lock in. Could definitely be an Orin for initiation here if they want it. Just go for a farm lane. The Sion also a possibility to just neutralize the top side.
Taking their time with this one, running down the clock, and seems like Sion might just be coming back out. So Roach moving away from the Gnar. Seems like now he's just going to be playing nothing but the Sion moving forward. But yet again, powerful draft from KingZone, a very aggressive one. They got the Xayah Rakan bot lane. They have the Jax out of the jungle. A lot of gank potential with the amount of lockdown in the bottom side and in the mid lane with that Rune Prison.
It feels like Rise has more options than ever against Cassiopeia, but it's still a Cassiopeia lane where she can overtake. So early intervention in the mid lane will be something to watch for. I believe KONGDOO wanted to disrupt the very standard Rise 1-3-1 play, and at least Sion being able to stay competitive with Gnar for a long time might delay the 1-3-1 shenanigans from coming through on the side of KingZone. But then there's Xayah Rakan, so what sort of interaction will there be in bot side? Feels like it'll be an evolving game where in the early game, bot lane or mid lane could be very high action as teams try to cement a lead in what is seemingly some pretty even matchups. Should be a fun one to watch as long as KONGDOO can stay a bit more robust in the early game than they have been able to recently.
Yeah, they need to find more opportunities where they don't have to invest full 5 members into killing somebody. So that way they can try to maintain their objectives, not lose those turrets on the rotation from KingZone.
Yujun in the lineup as well will alter the shot calling now that Raze is no longer there.
Yeah.
As the experienced shot caller, so fun to see Prey and Gorilla, the most beloved bot lane in the world, jump on the Lovers duo. They are, of course, 4th year as a duo. Let's see how they can do here against KONGDOO Monster.
No duo more fitting for it indeed. Let's see if they can deliver or if KONGDOO can manage to hold their own as we load in for game number 2. KingZone looking to go ahead, send this one home. Send KONGDOO Monster packing. Let's see if they have an answer.
생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
I gotta say, we were given some tea by the staff from KONGDOO Monster before the game in celebration of Soul's birthday. And the tea at least tastes good.
That's not a celebration right there. That is
Ooh.
Cloud Templar
Hello.
and his gender-bending days. Done that on stream many times over here in Korea if you're new to that particular meme.
Did it live for us the one time.
He
was
did.
it last April Fool's Day, wasn't it?
It was memorable. Speaking of April Fools, I guess we're only a month away from some OGN shenanigans if it is an OGN match day.
You can find that out right about now, actually, if you just give me a second.
I'll focus on the game. You check the match day and see if we actually do have matches on the 1st of April this year. I actually believe the season might be over by then. It might actually be playoff times if memory serves, and that may mean that the shenanigans are not going to happen.
Yeah, I think you might be correct on that.
First they took away our 2 Shens and I said nothing. Then they take away my April 1st. What to say? Speaking of rushing to lane, we do see it in top and bot side. So you're still looking at schedules.
Yeah, we actually have the wild card match just before that, I believe.
So in this
I think that's
particular
right when the
game,
playoffs get ready to kick off.
what I want to talk about is that Khan went straight into lane, actually on Sion's side of the lane, and started pushing the minions, try to get the race to level 2 happening. Same story for Caitlyn and Tom Kench in the bot side. So we have in both top and bot lane, the teams respectively getting a bit of an advantage to lane. Khan going to have his position for the level 2 top side. Caitlyn and Braum winning the level 2 race bot side, unless something really changes.
Damn, you can see right there by that lower third graphic, Secret was just 1 ward worse than Gorilla in that last game. 4 assists each.
What
He's
is
so close.
What does it mean, Achilles?
It means that KingZone probably win this 2-0. It means that we probably have an hour-and-a-half long break before the next series begins.
Certainly a very real possibility. Look, Sion's got Comet this game. How fun.
Ooh. Changing things up. We'll take a look at Edge here.
Low health total on the Gnar when he's not in Mega Gnar form, so just waiting for a bit of extra harass there. We talk about this matchup, and we've had Ryze versus Cassiopeia through many reworks on both champions for years. As holding the point, Kaz is topside.
Maybe the gank coming through, Counter-Strike, gets the lockdown, they have the red buff, 1 more hit'll do it, and that'll just be a very easy first blood coming through. Roach gonna get punished as he tries to pick up some minions, but that's about all she wrote, and KingZone yet again getting the ball rolling just a few minutes into this game.
And I believe this is the first time this season that we've had 2 level 3 ganks work in a series. Different junglers, but level 3
Different size
ganks
of the map as well.
Yeah, level 3 ganks in competitive play is something that is much less reliable than your solo queue games. Big success and big shout-outs to Kaz, and that was all about Khan prepping the minions at level 1 before the Sion even got to lane, and then having the lane in a perfect spot for Kaz to look for the ganks. So nice little synergy there. Just to finish the point on the mid lane, because we are seeing Ryze versus Cassio about 3-4 reworks in between the champions, the reason why right now, at this very second, Ryze is probably in his best spot ever is that Cassiopeia's happiest time was early levels when the wave clear is at its lowest from the Ryze. Because of the introduction of minion dematerializer, if you actually dematerialize a minion as your E is in the air, it does spread the E, it does spread the wave clear as if it had killed it as bot lane.
Yeah, nice root comes through there from Prey. They go in for that grand entrance, but the Devourer is there to keep Soul safe, so no summoner spells having to be used by KONGDOO Monster thus far, but you can see the pressure here. Even with this heavy poke lane from the Caitlyn is still suffering from the side of KONGDOO Monster.
The take-home message is that Rise wave clears even earlier against the Cassiopeia, so we're about as close to this being a 50-50 matchup as we ever have been. It used to be 80-20 many reworks ago, but Rise going to be relatively happy to lane against the Cassio.
Gone in the meantime. Gonna be feeling very comfortable after that first blood assist up top.
He also has the ward on the Krugs. Great ward coming through from the side of KONGDOO. They haven't been cleared for a suspiciously long time. They will be cleared into a top lane gank. It'd be very unlikely for Yujun to just gank top, then take the Krugs. So, knowing it's open, just as we speak about it, pinged on the Krugs, and that lets Gnar know that now is the time to start adjusting his playstyle in about 20 seconds.
Yeah, spot instantly comes through. He also pushed forward to clear out the blast cone, so can't pop over the Baron wall and try to gank through the river, where he doesn't have that vision control at the moment. Khan gonna go back. Will return, has those Merc treads ready to go, as well as a control ward. So just safety first here for him.
Cuz is on the invade.
Yes, he is. We'll spot out Yujun and pushes forward, throws down the control ward, so Cuz says, okay, you know what, you're preoccupied with that, I'm going to keep taking away the wolves. We'll get spotted now. Can't get the big one, though.
Still plenty of experience loaded into the small ones after all the changes on minions.
That's exerting some pressure here in the mid lane at last. Get quite a bit of damage there onto BDD, but still going to be safe as KONGDOO's very aggressive. Doesn't have the level 6, but just is going to rip Roach apart. Can't quite get that final hyper proc, but it's back to base for him. He's not level 6, can't charge in, and doesn't have the teleport. So this is one of the most feels bad moments here for a Scion that you could possibly imagine.
And that last bit of information is the unique thing. It's also the gamesmanship thing coming through from Khan, is that's the time to all in when the penalty is highest. If you all in a Rise and he goes back and buys a tier, you're like, okay, I didn't really achieve anything here. If you all in a Rise before he has an item, it's a victory. Same story with Scion as he hits level 6, so that gets a relatively much larger advantage for Khan than in other parts of the laning phase.
Already ahead by 12. Exhaust going to come down here on a Prey. The Devourer comes in. They'll spit him out. And he takes a ton of damage. Tries to get the root, but can't do it. He's actually going to get punished. Complete 2v2, and KONGDOO Monster come out on top.
2v2 killing the Xayah Rakan after falling behind in lane. It's just a laning mistake from KONGDOO. Prey thought he was safer than he really was. Gorilla could have just hung back and charged his recall. They could have taken advantage of the unique passive between the two. But they're sloppy and deserve to be punished. Nice play from Soul and Secret, who were, as you remember, 2v2 killed by Amada and Deft in their last series against KT.
Yeah. Very nicely done by them. Gorilla now just going to try to hold the wave as Prey makes his way back towards that bottom lane. Goodbye for him as the BF sword comes through. Okay, Soul on the back as well will be matching. So going to be a pretty similar spread of items, just a refillable here for him instead.
We're seeing a double rainbow scenario here at Kilios. Gnar has a 20 CS lead on a Scion. You will never see this. It's once in a lifetime getting a CS lead against a Scion. But the early gank doing most of the work there.
It turns out Khan is pretty good at League of Legends.
Turns out level 3 ganks, getting a kill is also very helpful.
Speaking of ganks, Secret roam here into the mid lane. BDD going to try to cut down the river. Gets hit by that Tongue Lash, has the Realm Warp ready to go. And he'll just be able to zip his way out of there. No shenanigans with that stopwatch necessary or possible anymore. And he makes it out without using a summoner.
Yeah, this stopwatch is all about the inevitable all-in. And speaking of all-ins...
Yeah, that's going to be another poke there. Dissipating Smash, not going to catch him, and Khan just has to use the hop to get over the wall.
And that's what we call the Merc Treads Rush advantage that Gnar was able to hold. He got to play aggressively and force a very bad back timing out of Roach. And then the gank comes through and he's not locked up long enough to interrupt any blasting clone plays. So that's why you go for the boots to rush topside. Very nicely done by the side of KONGDOO.
Blue buff going to get taken away there by Cuz as he rotates over, sees Edge, and Pinch is coming through for BDD. He'll jump in, gets the Counter-Strike lockdown. Big hit off the W. Poison starting to come through as Edge tries to trade this one back, and an Abyssal Voyage comes in from Secret, who arrives on his own. They'll get the lockdown here on the Cuz. He jumps away, barely manages to stay alive. The shield comes down from Gorilla, and now they're trying to trade this back. Yujun goes low, TP being channeled from the top side of the map, and that's actually going to be Roach joining in. He's looking for the hit, but can't curve his way around that wall, and Cuz will eventually get taken down. Ace in the hole from downtown. Soul finishes him off and finds double buffs on a Caitlyn.
That was really nice by Roach. It looked comical because you can't drift in those directions, but you just need to get vision for the ultimate there from the Caitlyn. Great stuff, and bot lane was already looking tricky when a 2v2 kill went the way of KONGDOO Monster. Now it's double buff Caitlyn, so best of luck, KONGDOO and DragonX.
Yeah, and KONGDOO still going to be down in gold, about 500, so nothing too severe so far. find themselves up in kills and maybe in objectives here as Yujun starts up that dragon, but doesn't want to take it here by himself.
Definitely some fast and loose stuff for KONGDOO in Game 2. Changing 2 members does change some of the cohesion the team was playing around, but the problem started in the bot lane. The problem started with the 2v2 death, so you can't just say the subs coming in were the problem, as Khan's on his roam as well.
Yep. Can't get on top of Edge in time to pin him into the wall.
He's sitting on a lot of gold. He's had Merc treads for the best part of the past 6 minutes.
Yeah. Gets that roam down still. Almost 30 CS up over top of Roach here so far as Soul, you can see the damage is really coming through with this poke.
I like how we saw the unique starts on both sides where Na pushed up and got a cool gank, and then bot lane KONGDOO Monster pushed up and completely irrelevant to that where he would pick up a 2v2 kill. And now we're in the unique spot where a Gnar is pushing and roaming on a Scion. Again, won't see that anytime soon. And also KONGDOO Monster have double buffs and are dominating the bot lane. So at least when it comes to a vertical split, good news stories for KONGDOO and for KONGDOO and DragonX in a game is already good news for KONGDOO Monster, and they have most of the turret down with the red buff burning onto the structure.
Oh, Gorilla tries to get the block there on the ace in the hole, but instead they just take way more damage, and the turret will be taken here by Soul. Back up there from Yujun just in case. KONGDOO Monster actually will go ahead, surge forward into a lead.
And I'm not going to mince words. KONGDOO are in peril a little bit at this point, where KONGDOO can now rotate with a Caitlyn who will have Berserker's Greaves, and most of the way towards, you would imagine, a Static Shiv. They could start pushing and even halt up the Gnar, maybe turn into him as Cuz is turned on, but gonna just be a disengage.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and finish off that ward as BDD tries to get the jump here onto Edge. Realm Warp coming in to cut him off. He's gonna get petrified. They'll still go forward, but the flash over the wall takes the Cassiopeia out to safety, but the Mountain Drake was halted, did not get taken by KONGDOO.
Also, the stun didn't register. He's able to juke it. That's why the ultimate was able to complete. Otherwise, it would have interrupted the channel of the Realm Warp. No harm, no foul. Has to invest his flash, though, because the ult went off. So, did end up being an ult for flash trade coming in from BDD.
Yeah, and a good investment since KONGDOO is able to scoop up this Mountain Drake at the end of the day as well. So, overall, good little trade up by them. Khan still with a significant lead, now has the Phage and the Ruby Crystal there in the inventory as he looks for the Black Cleaver.
That's the only good news story, really, for KONGDOO at this point. 16 CS lead in mid is pretty happy as well, but otherwise things going very well for the side of KONGDOO Monster. Not to the tune of a massive gold lead or anything like that, but what do we say pre-series? It's first versus 10th sliding scales. The sliding scale is sliding further if they can get anything onto Khan.
I can see Khan here. He's still all right. He's going to take that double hop off the top of Yujun's head, keeps himself safe. No lockdown onto the Gnar. And he still just holds on to those summoner spells.
The longer that KONGDOO Monster can be competitive with KONGDOO, the better it is for KONGDOO in their must-win games as the season goes on. You don't circle the KONGDOO match if you're KONGDOO Monster. You circle BBQ, Rocks Tigers, MVP, some of the lower teams in the league when it comes to the wins to get them out of relegation. So to show here, to actually show up and have a good early game is something they can look to trade upon when the opposition gets relatively less stiff.
And that's, you know, and one of the other things is even if KONGDOO is so very close to being mathematically into the relegations no matter what, having strong showings is what they need getting ready to go up against a team like Griffin, who has been doing so well in Challenger, so that they can try to maintain their spot, actually retain it this time for the first time ever in the event that they go into that tournament.
Too good for Challenger and not good enough for LCK has been that narrative for the side of KONGDOO Monster. Damwon Gaming and Griffin looking like the two teams that you guys might want to do a little bit of light research on when the tournaments roll around. We'll let you guys know when the Korean broadcast of the Challenger Finals is on, 'cause that's always a fun one to catch. But in this particular match, sticking with what's in front of us, KONGDOO are not behind by any demonstrable amount of gold. There's a huge CS lead topside, all from largely the level 3 gank and the minions being prepped very early by Khan. And jungling topside is definitely Cuz's good news story. He wants to stay away from the bot lane as much as possible. Do the reverse peanut from game 1.
It's one of those times where Prey and Gorilla might actually really like his involvement down there.
Notice that Prey, despite dying and the turret going down, is competitive in CS. And that's what happens when you get an advantage and keep pushing. You're getting the structure gold for your team, but denying CS and taking a turret pre-15 minutes doesn't happen. You have to choose one or the other outside of a full team-wide rotation. If it's a 2v2 turret kill, the CS is inevitably going to be very even, and that's why there's no CS lead for Soul.
Well, Rift Herald yet again here. Twice in a row here for KingZone. We'll see where they want to use it. No turrets taken yet. And I'm not sure about the other turret's HP outside of the top lane, which has been worked on here by Kon.
I'm thinking this might be a return to Trinity Force Jax, which probably won't be a surprise to a lot of people out there. But if you remember the last game that Cuz played for the side of KingZone, it was Tank Jax against the double Trinity Force comp coming through from, I believe, the Afrika Freaks, where they were able to shut down the Trinity Force with an adaptive helm and 40% CDR Jax, just not taking damage from autos. In this game, because Scion's on the Rift, you might have to rotate Gnar over, and then having Jax with Trinity Force gives them an extra split pusher if Baron or an objective on the other side of the map isn't relevant. So Trinity Force Jax scales so well into being a split pusher that this isn't a game where you could really feel a lot cleaner about the Triforce Jax rather than the Tank Jax that was very effective against Afrika's specific composition.
There's 4 members of KONGDOO Monster up here towards the top side, just the 3 from KingZone, with BDD hovering around in the mid lane. Seems like everybody just going to go their separate ways, not looking for a dive here as Cuz pushes in. Tries to get that control ward, but the Miasma will force him back.
Previously they controlled the top side river, but with Caitlyn and the Tahm Kench joining the side, they have to be a bit more respectful around the river. Static Shiv and BF Sword far outweighs most of an Essence Reaver, which is what Prey has.
Oh, Kench looking here. On to Cuz, Abyssal Voyage coming down now. BDD, he's going to have to hightail, but Cuz has that ward jump. Gets himself over the wall. Bit of a late cancel there from Roach, but still gets it all the same.
Roach and Khan cancel. That should have been a kill. I feel like they didn't layer the CC as well as they would have liked to. If the W Miasma was in the right position, there was no ward jump available to the Jax. So no harm, no foul, but definitely KONGDOO were looking for an extra kill to justify the rotation coming through from Soul and Secret.
Yeah, they get the flash down, but it's 3 ultimates invested there by KONGDOO. Still going to be a bit of a consequence there. Praying Gorilla now roaming down towards the mid lane.
And to some of the vision that was spotted before, and also to join the Rift Herald.
Yeah, seems like they're just going to try to take this turret. Herald comes through. Get a nice chunk off of this as they try to poke their way in.
They know Abyssal Voyage is down. That's why they can walk up so far.
Oh, Scion joining the party, but can't turn that sharply, so Roach will just start trying to kite his way back as BDD throws a little bit of damage out onto him. In the meantime, Khan going to have that split push going in the bottom side of the map to try to knock down KingZone's first turret.
But the amount of "in the meantime" shows you that KingZone have made a very smart macro play. What was used to try to get the kill on Jax? Abyssal Voyage. If they roam first with the Rift Herald, Abyssal Voyage isn't there to disengage the Herald instantly. They get more damage than they would have on the mid lane turret, and then Scion has to roam up, so they get damage on bot lane as well. So really nice example of rotations, a word that's often used for its meme purposes, but is also a very succinct way to show that KingZone is a step ahead of the action, and even when KONGDOO have a very significant amount of pressure on their duo, they still end up being map-wide a step behind of that last passage of play.
Well, things going to shift back here into the favor of KingZone as far as the gold is concerned. Still down that kill, but find themselves up almost 1,000 as that turret falls in the bottom side of the map. Mid and top both prepped very well. So KingZone seems like they're prepared to go ahead and scoop up those remaining outer turrets.
How do you get a lead when you're behind somewhere? Make the most of what you have, and that's what they had there. They had information about one global being down, and that information caused them to prosper, basically to the note of an outer bot lane turret and the Ocean Drain. So very nice stuff from KingZone, stabilizing the game. They've actually retained a gold lead after picking up the answering turret, or that might be fleeting, as for now, inside track on the top side for KONGDOO Monsters duo.
Yeah, so going to be making quick work of that one as well with the wave that he's got bunched up. Brain just now arriving to try to clear this out. We can see a lot of damage has been dealt. Brave's wave clear isn't that strong yet.
He also has like 1 pixel to stand on that's not a trap at that point.
Yeah.
So couldn't get to all the minions. Smartly arranged by the side of KONGDOO Monster. Still competitive. At 20 minutes, we are not going to see an explosive lead for the side of KingZone DragonX. So that's, again, something to compliment KONGDOO Monster for after a few series of nothing good to say. It is the phase rush from Edge. Pretty common on Cassiopeia for trying to disengage slows and just be able to stick for the extra damage during a fight. All about the chase potential as Cassio.
A lot of members of KingZone hovering around the mid right now. They got the vision at least. I would love for Edge to just walk forward a little bit and get hit by that rune prison, but he's smarter than that. So won't allow it to happen. Neck and neck right now with the gold as well. KONGDOO finishing this one. 3:30 minutes now. Looks like a bit of a challenge for them.
Yeah, it's basically impossible to crash enough of an advantage. A Baron out of nowhere certainly would be a lot of standing gold for them to pick up, but setting that up seems very difficult. I was thinking about, okay, how do KONGDOO recreate the good move they made bot side without there being a mistake from KONGDOO, and to do that would require deep vision, require a excellent teleport from a Gnar that's already going to be pretty situational when it comes to maintaining a gank. So I think it's just about showing up the fundamentals, pushing out the waves, and then finding a way to actually move forward. First impression is, given how many different conditionals I said, for now it's going to be KONGDOO largely controlling the pace of the game.
Which has to be a good moment for them. They haven't had many opportunities for that since their victory over KSV.
I mean, started the season 2-2, right? Now 2-9, so a 7-match losing streak. They may already, in their heads, be demoralized to the point where they kind of largely expect it to be an 8-match losing streak, but at least the manner of the losses have improved very significantly in this game.
At least it wasn't all straight games. They got that one-game victory versus SKT.
You're going to walk over and tell them that's the silver lining? You think that's going to actually perk them up there?
I think they could use anything that they could get.
Yeah, that's fair.
The game's not over, and we're still saying, this is great! You know, whether or not they close it out. So, having an actual closeout would be nice for them as Prey takes a ton of damage.
Static Shiv, Infinity Edge crit, does huge damage, and only going to be the rune there for any sort of lifesteal, the fleet footwork. Take a while for Prey to get combat ready. KONGDOO Monster control rotations around mid-side, because that's where Caitlyn is. KONGDOO playing around where Caitlyn is exactly what they want to do at this huge position of power. Infinity Edge Shiv against Essence Reaver Zeal is a very large mismatch, and basically where all their hopes and dreams are pinned this game is around the Caitlyn. Caitlyn patrolling one flank, the Rakan looking for initiation the other side, but actually being able to turn a good trap line and a fed Caitlyn into turret damage, for now eluding the side of KONGDOO Monster.
KONGDOO just been playing around the objective so far. The two Drakes in their control. Gorilla goes in, looks for the knockup, finds it in on the Secret. Pops a shield, and seems like he might be able to retreat. They trade back a ton of damage here on Akuz. They try to get the lockdown and force out the flash. Great turnaround by KONGDOO Monster. Just shutting down that aggression from KONGDOO.
Oliver Khan, Mega Gnar, Beta Cuz stay in longer than he would have liked. Didn't have the leap. Get back over the wall. Caitlyn showing up usually will lead to a disengage. If you're asking me, okay, how do KONGDOO Monster turn what they have into an actual lead? What we would see other teams do is set up Edge on the top side, which we've seen just very recently on the Casio. Have the Tahm Kench and the Sejuani invade into the blue side jungle in order to get vision, and then be able to cut between mid lane and the inner turret of the top lane for KONGDOO and try to find leads there. Because Caitlyn, this with 4 members, can't push in Prey with all the control vision. There's not enough vision for KONGDOO advanced of the river. So creating advanced vision is the only way they're actually going to be able to find a true lead, barring some significant misplay by the side of KONGDOO.
Well, slow and steady so far. KONGDOO, again, they slipped out with that lead since KONGDOO was able to take the turret.
The worry is,
but
though,
they haven't allowed it to grow.
And that's kind of the problem, is the worry is that they were very relatively ahead around their bot lane, and if nothing happens and the Xayah shows up with 3 items, you know, Infinity Edge short of that 3-item spike, they might just straight up lose a 5v5 against the Zeke's Convergence 3-item Xayah. So the pressure is on KONGDOO Monster to actually get something out of how strong Soul is.
Yeah, the wave clear becoming that much more powerful here for Prey as well, so trying to siege up against the turret is looking less and less likely here for KONGDOO.
If you were doing play-by-play of what's happening on the Rift, it's Caitlyn pushes minions into Xayah, and then Xayah gets minions, even though Xayah has way less items. So that's just the side of Xayah winning, and that's kind of the problem, is they're not turning this lead into anything, and that's the frustrating thing that KONGDOO need to engineer a way to stop happening.
It could also be very boring play-by-play.
Exactly. But the boring play-by-play represents KONGDOO just smartly playing defensively. KONGDOO, again, not having been in a position to play aggressively in the mid game for a while, missing out on some openings, the vision line never actually extending, and the game kind of just being allowed to be much more in the balance than it should be.
Still grouped up around mid. Another Ocean Drake has joined us here on the Rift as we're basically completely tied up in the gold.
Feels like an ARAM, Achilles.
It kind of does. A very
Khan is
slow-
breaking the rules, though. This is not
very
allowed on
boring
ARAM,
one.
Khan.
Yeah, he's brutalizing Roach as far as CS is concerned right now.
Started off 20 CS ahead, and it's turned into 70. Flame Horizon a Scion, again, something you almost never hear. But can be possible in this game, yeah.
Well, that's going to be the ultimate connection onto Cousin. He doesn't have the flash up as he try to get the lockdown. Miasma comes through. He's down to half HP, but a big knockup comes in into the root. Petrifying Gaze does catch them off guard as Prey takes a major chunk of damage and Roach approaches in from the sidelines. But BDD, he chases down Yujun. He takes him out. No smite available there from the Sejuani. KONGDOO, they take a bit of damage, so maybe can't go for the Baron yet. But they at least find a fight, and they go ahead and equalize that kill count.
I mean, the fight was started by KONGDOO, but it started in the mid lane where it's such narrow terrain that actually being able to profit off of a Glacial Prison is difficult. It's so easy to disengage in mid lane, so the defender's advantage is there for KONGDOO. And now they're pushing up the turret. There's the
goes
Gnar.
in deep, tries to get the wall up, but the Devourer is there. Meanwhile, BDD wraps around from the back line. They get the lockdown there on the Secret, pops that shield, pops the flash, and gets himself out safely as the turret does fall. BDD jukes to the side, doesn't get hit by the Decimating Smash. Cuz goes in. Counter-strike in onto Edge, but the follow-up isn't there, and KONGDOO just want to back out. They're trying to trade back the damage. Get the pop there onto BDD. He gets the shield. Prey gets the root, almost takes down Edge. Barely manages to wiggle his way out back underneath the turret, and it's just going to be a full-blown retreat here from KONGDOO. Happy with the objective, happy to make it out without dying at all.
Definitely all the cooldowns being used on Cuz gave so much room for the rest of KONGDOO to play aggressive in a manner that hasn't been available for 10 minutes. You're trying to make a gank work in mid lane. By the time the ult and the miasma hits, Cuz can just leisurely walk into the turret. Their cooldowns are down. The re-engage is possible for the side of KONGDOO, and BDD. Very nice Realm Warp to catch out the Sejuani and start the cascading advantages for the side of KONGDOO and DragonX.
Such a nail-biter of a fight, but just the one going down, just Yujun's life being taken. The KONGDOO, they go ahead, they get another kill, they get another turret, and suddenly they just jump forward by 1,500 gold.
Suddenly,
control now coming through around Baron as well.
And suddenly that Infinity Edge before the next relevant team fight becomes inevitable for Prey. BF Sword already to start himself on the chase. I believe that was his lane ward to stop any sort of flanking happening in mid lane. KONGDOO now do control the pace of this game. Something impossible for them to do 10 minutes ago. Very possible for them to do now. And well, it's pretty predictable. You see Roach and Yujun jump onto the war marks. This current power level, both of them have itemization that works best around a Baron. Starting it and peeling away, if they had been able to find a way to take mid lane turret, would have been a great point of power right now for KONGDOO if they had taken out mid lane outer. But they have a mid lane outer disadvantage after their misplay around mid. KONGDOO trying to take the top lane turret. Those war marks peel off Baron plays looking impossible as KONGDOO Monster just can't get a vision line to actually start Baron.
3 turrets now taken, all of those outers, and a big catch comes through. Gorilla finds a double knock-up. Secret has to pop the shield as Prey just fires away onto Yujun. Does over the wall, gets the counter-strike in, but might have bitten off more than he could chew. Now going to be stuck inside the pit, does have the flash and might have to pop it. No, he's just going to go down. The miasma there to deny. Chase comes through, however, and Secret will get punished at the same time, but KONGDOO, they can't transition this into a Baron because they lost the smite.
Yeah, it was really poor play by Cuz. He leapt in alone with no one being able to follow him, and then Cassio walked over, put a miasma down, and he was done. There was no ability for him to get out, so big misjudge of the fight there by Cuz subbing in for Game 2. Peanut was our MVP and much cleaner in Game 1. Now we have seen Cuz sub in and really square up KONGDOO in previous series, but this is the first time we're seeing him actually cost his team some pressure because there was no reason for him to dive in. No one was coming with him, and it does, as you mentioned, halt any further objectives for the side of KONGDOO.
And this comes off the back of a very good start for him, going for the gank at level 3, getting the kill onto Roach, but kind of unraveling a little bit as he's just letting his aggression dictate his moves rather than his brain.
It's one of those things where Cuz is in that awkward spot where he is, of course, an LCK champion in his first split. He is a Royal Roader. like no one has been in many years in the LCK. But then Peanut comes onto the lineup, one of the most beloved players in the world, and people are always going to be looking for reasons for Peanut to win, and also for reasons for Peanut to play. And then when it comes to Cuz, both of them are going to take a lot of scrutiny, and Peanut has had his moments recently, and Cuz unfortunately has not been playing and now is having a down game. So it feels like jungler, who should start in the jungle, is going to be the biggest topic coming away from this, even though both of them have certainly had their moments over the course of the season.
Again, fully expecting this to just be a bit of an experiment from the side of KONGDOO going up against KONGDOO.
It's a happy time to experiment.
Yes. And it has cost them a little bit in this game. Very minorly. It slowed down the pace. It's going to extend their average game time here for the season so far as we surpass 30 minutes. It's maybe not as long of a break as we might have anticipated, but we're still maybe looking at about an hour if KONGDOO Monster can't close this out somehow.
Close out is probably the wrong word. They're behind in gold. They're behind in turrets. They were certainly in a position to close out 10 minutes ago, but the ARAM and the lack of opening up the map has meant they've been trading farm for too long, and by trading farm, it's still going to be a significant lead for the Gnar. All three lanes either competitive or slightly ahead for the side of KONGDOO, and now it's actually KONGDOO's game to control. And KONGDOO Monster, who were previously roaming around the river trying to find ability to push in offensive vision, now struggling to get their own defensive vision to stop a teleport play from Khan.
Now KONGDOO just playing forward into that jungle, maintaining their vision around the Baron, and maybe even trying to bait somebody from KONGDOO in. Jun will go ahead and throw down that control ward, but very swiftly is taken.
Will we see the famous Gnar Flame Horizoning a Scion within 20? Something you may never see in another region.
It's getting closer and closer to it. Seems very fitting that it would be Khan able to pull this off. As we wait. You know, I just want him to ignore every other aspect of this game so far and just focus on
Well, he's done that so far. He is still on the minions.
There's a good distraction there in the mid lane. He's not going to have that Mega Gnar ready to go. As Gorilla runs interruption
Beautiful.
there. Yet gets the pop-up onto Yujun, denies him from entering the pit. Takes a decent chunk of damage off of his HP bar, but they get the Baron, and now KONGDOO can start going back onto the aggressive side of things.
Yeah, KONGDOO have controlled the map for about 3 minutes, and now they have a Baron to show for it. That is what a top decisive team is able to do with the lead, and what KONGDOO Monster were not able to do. While we're harping on it a lot, it's frustrating to see your team in such a point of power and not be able to move it due to some map-wide mistakes. And now KONGDOO in utterly full control, and casually Khan approaches the Flame Horizon and is 2 levels above Asaya.
Yeah.
He's level 18. He's already
maxed out.
He's doing pretty well.
You know, it's a similar situation to when we would have MVP, you know, even surprisingly get leads in the early game.
Hey.
And then they couldn't close it out.
If MVP gets a lead, they start the Baron. At least they
That's
start
true.
something, whereas in this game, unfortunately, they farmed out until the lead was gone.
You know, it's a good thing that Koreans can't gamble in Korea, because otherwise all of those guys, beyond especially, would be addicted to something like roulette, who just always put it on red or black.
Now we know the pastime of those MVP.
Throw his salary down.
Now
Here we go.
We know the pastime of those MVP diehard fans.
Yeah.
For a little bit of a gamble is,
I'm going to bet it on 0-0. Oh, God.
or just, I'm going to bet it on Beyond Smite.
I don't like these odds, actually.
Oh, he's going for it. One more minion. There's the Flame Horizon. It happened. Scion was Flame Horizon for half a second at least. Congratulations, Khan. You're a statistical improbability.
It happened
It did
briefly.
happen. It'll probably happen more so in a bit. Especially if Roach teleports first. Banner of Command would be lovely to have on the side of KONGDOO to just stop Edge from being able to answer the minions so easily.
Oh.
Mid lane.
He's got to take a decent chunk of damage there, but all in all, Frey will be okay. He'll retreat. Try to get some HP back as BDD takes out that top lane turret.
Will BDD close the game without using a stopwatch? It's still available.
Missile Voyage, they're going to try to get a catch here onto Khan, but I think he's got the leap. Yep. That was a bit of a desperate rotation.
Yeah, from behind the Abyssal Voyage, very unlikely to pick up the catch, and they just return to mid lane. Frey gets a couple of crits with the Fleet Footwork, so he's back to full health and has a red buff also for a bit of sustain, and there's no ability for KONGDOO Monster to conga line unless they recreate game 1 and 5-man gank, and Game will end around them if they do that. Trying to clear in mid lane.
We'll just go ahead, knock down that turret with ease. Suddenly, KONGDOO getting closer and closer to a 10,000 gold lead, where KONGDOO was once just 100 apart from these guys. Certainly delayed. Certainly holding out against KONGDOO, but it seems like the victory here for these guys, the first place versus the 10th place team, is just inevitable no matter what.
It just better fundamentals is kind of what we learned throughout the course of the defense, because it just kind of waited out the advantages that KONGDOO had. They were smart in their defense, they were good in their lane assignment, split everyone to 1-3-1, and now questing on the turret.
Well,
Looking for Roach.
He's just going to go ahead, zip his way out of there. The choo-choo escape
Sion.
train. Yep.
He had something to say.
Yeah. You guys are jerks.
Teamfight build from Khan as well. Has gone for the Randuins pretty early.
That'd be great. I would love a whiny Sion skin. He just complains every time rather than trying to intimidate when he runs away.
So Emumu exists, but there's no way to make that same pun with Sion. So we'll leave it to you, OGN Legion, to come up with the emo Sion skin.
Well, they should
name.
just change. I mean, because clearly they can code it with Vayne. You know, she gets increased move speed if she's going towards somebody. If he's ulting away from somebody, it should change his voice line. You should say, at least he should say like, "I'll be back" or something like that. Just run away.
In my head, I'm trying to find a way to turn the phrase of "ganked by mom" to the Sion. He can be complaining about his mom turning off the internet.
Yeah.
But yep, that's an open challenge coming up with the sad Sion skin name.
It would be a good one for them to push out on like April Fools.
Comedy line.
Going back to that.
Well, here comes Sion aggressively.
Well, he had to use the flash this time around, but Khan's still going to get his way out. Instead, he just turns around and says, "Oh, I'll just take your vision instead," and your Gromp. So, multiple ultimates yet again being invested to try to get the Gnar, but Khan is just way too slippery here for KONGDOO Monster. 0-0-1 here with that so far.
Got his flash, so at least a little bit more defensive side. His Soul, in the midst of all of this, while he's been a passenger, he does have 5 items. He still is very powerful on the Caitlyn, not one to be trifled with. Back to Sion, trying to desperately not get any more of a CS lead, but damage being done. 110 CS a couple of seconds ago was the lead for the Sion. Breaking the base, never a trivial thing to do on patch 8.3. No souped up Baron or Elder Dragon to turn onto, but at least the Elder Dragon is 4 stack when eventually it does spawn. Triple Ocean Drake here as well. Again, not really helping the game close out, so Kilios probably going to have to be a second Baron for the side of KONGDOO.
Definitely going to be one of the longer ones. I'm not sure what their record is for their longest game so far.
There was the 39-minute first blood.
I was going to say, it was a bit later on, but we're still getting up there comparatively to what these guys are used to playing.
I'm one to appreciate a fairly bloodless return to game, though, or return to form for KONGDOO after falling behind early. They have a lot of map control, so the Baron contest is looking very, very difficult. KONGDOO Monster to begin. Breaking the base, though, like we mentioned, is the big delaying factor, and Baron probably represents the only chance for that to happen.
Just threatening from the side, denying any vision outside of the base here. Keeping them contained as we wait for that Baron to spawn in 35 seconds.
There's
just no real forward vision here. No TP wards for Roach on that top side of the map around the Baron pit.
They've seen 5 members of KONGDOO Monster at every moment of the past 6 minutes, so they know no wards have been put there. Another attempt at an all-in. This time, flashes down for Khan.
No. Nearly has that Mega Gnar ready to go. They'll hit him with a Decimating Smash, get him locked in. He transforms, gets a wallop, but actually will die. Took him 3 different attempts, but they finally kill the Gnar.
But this time, it's a great time in the game. It's as Baron is about to spawn, so the inevitable Baron for KONGDOO may still come, but it's going to be heavily delayed because they can't take it off spawn. And this will, at minimum, get KONGDOO Monster some control around the Baron that was impossible until Gnar went down.
Well, KONGDOO, they're trying to respond by killing Yujun. Take him down to about half HP, has to use the stopwatch. Root comes in as well just for an added little bit of damage, but now big aggression coming through from KONGDOO Monster, and the rest of KONGDOO, they're cut off on the wrong side of the map here. Prey trying to fire off, trying to work his way through this Sion, but it's just so much HP. Giving them the run around here for now. Gorilla goes back in, gets the pop-up. BDD getting ready to rejoin the fray. Flash away from Gorilla, keeps himself alive, and Roach goes gold and Prey trying to get the root. Just to find one as Secret pops the shield, and now they still want to just go back in to kill this Sejuani.
This is an incredible passage of disengage, 4v5 for the members of KingZone. Second use of the unstoppable onslaught in the fight by the Scion. Couldn't get the catch.
That's a realm warp. They're just going to go for the Baron.
This is incredible. Onto the Baron, the teleport comes in, and KONGDOO Monster have been run around yakety sack style.
Yeah, they just pushed them all the way back, out-kite them so beautifully, and that guarantees the Baron for themselves. No smite, no problem. They take this one away, and now KingZone going to be given the tool that they've been wanting to try to close out this game.
Achilles, that is the essence of rotations that Monte Cristo claimed. The disengage in a 4v5, beautiful. The Realm Warp play, Bjergsen-esque, a compliment in this particular case. Really, really nice stuff from the side of KingZone, and they claim a Baron that I believe very few teams around the world would have been able to engineer at that precise moment.
Excellent footwork there by KingZone. Stay alive, almost kill Eugen, force him back, and then just Realm Warp straight in. Decisive call indeed.
That was beautiful. It was really beautiful. It was bloodless largely. It was after a death on their side, but to be the ability to on-the-fly shock call, and even the micro of the disengage, where it seemed like a 5 to 6 item Caitlyn was going to take down closest target. There never was a closest target. The re-engages on the grand entrance from Gorilla bought so much time. Just majestic stuff for the side of KingZone. A treat to watch.
Very nicely done. But now we're up over 10,000 gold. KingZone have the Baron for another 2 minutes, and they're going to be looking for these inhibitors. I'm not sure that there's much that KONGDOO is going to be able to do to stop this. Even though it's not 8.4, we don't have the Baron of Command minions. Still going to be rough times, and BDT just absolutely destroys the Cassiopeia, makes it out with a sliver of HP off the back of that Realm Warp. Cool Common collected in the booth still is he. Says, yep, that's exactly how I planned it. Maybe took a little bit more damage than he had anticipated, but makes it out all the same. 2 inhibitors now taken here by KingZone. Edge dead for another 40 seconds, BDD.
He even
took
back the ace in the hole as well at the end and did not die. BDD can always teleport back in.
Yeah, he has the Unsealed Spellbook, swaps out the Ghost, goes for the TP, will be rejoining the team, and KingZone want to close this one out, maybe before the 42-minute mark even. BDD pushing forward, straight in between the traps. Prey is chunked out. That does limit them a little bit, but that's going to be the redemption coming through. Pop up in on a Secret, try to eliminate Tom Catch. He pops the shield, tries to waddle his way back into the Fountain, where Prey is just firing upon Soul, but he will answer back the regen. Just a bit too much for the Xayah, and maybe KingZone have to peel back. They get a second one, the bot lane dead. And now they're going to try to go in for the retreat. Roach taking up into the front line, will get chunked low. Here by Cuz, Counter-Strike up, they get the lockdown here onto Soul. Big hits onto the Caitlyn as he tries desperately to kite back, but it's going to be Khan who comes up with a kill, and Cuz still alive here for the moment, gets a slight little bit of HP back, but Edge gets the respawn. Comes back into the fray, petrifying Gaze connects in onto BDD, they take him down, and now it's just Khan. As a transformation ready to go, he's just going to try to go ahead and waste some time, allow for the respawns to come in for Prey and Gorilla so they can't get punished for their objectives. He'll make his exit. Flash and leap down. Baron power to recall still there. A bit of a fiesta at the end, you would have to say here by KingZone. Way too aggressive by Prey. KONGDOO Monster hold out, but their base is still in tatters.
A lot of mistakes, but this mindset of KingZone is always try to fight. They were 3v5 for the bottom end of the fight after 2 went down. They still continue to try to fight their way out of it. Is that just a sign of who they're playing? Hard to say. But it might actually be costly when it comes to being able to pick up objectives. There's been no Drakes claimed. Khan has already respawned. There will be no free Elder to side of KONGDOO Monster. You singled out Prey. He deserves to be singled out. He tried to turret dive the Caitlyn, who has 6 items. That was dumb.
I mean, this is, another mistake here from Prey. Getting killed down in the bottom lane. The initial one.
Always usually such a clean player, but definitely had too many weak picks this morning and decided he could just take on everyone. The case, first versus 10, sometimes brings out the best, sometimes brings out the worst in decision making. They'll get the Elder though, it's a 4 stack, and they'll look to close the game.
Yeah, it can just be perhaps that complacency coming through, having lower expectations of KONGDOO than you probably should, even given their position. So Prey, way too overzealous, does find himself punished.
Reminds me of a KT Rolster play, which in this case is definitely a criticism. KT most known for looking past opposition and getting a bit creative with their fighting.
I'd say definitely more so at 2017 KT.
We've seen it this season against Rocks as well.
Fewer and far between the times that it does occur, but it does still slip up every now and then.
Styling may look cool, may make montages, but in this game, it's going to add to the average game time pretty significantly.
Yep. Frey getting chunked out yet again. I mean, Soul is a very scary Caitlyn. Of course, going to be level 18 well before this point, but the items there are coming through. You see nearly those 1,300 crits coming down onto the super creeps.
Getting minion waves into the base without Baron and without playing 3 lanes is delaying them. Ryze has to go and try and bring up the minion wave in bot lane. And it's Caitlyn, so of course everything takes longer.
Cuz just slipping through those traps. Everybody on KONGDOO just making their way through there. I guarantee I would get hit 100% of the time if I tried to do this in my solo queue.
Gonna try this at home.
Flash forward, BDD just absolutely destroys Edge. And that is going to be looking like the end of the game. Gorilla goes in deep, gets the shield, and gets a pop-up there on the Yujun, sends him back to the fountain. Roach tries to make his way there, but he'll get cut down. Decisive call. They go in, they eliminate him. The Nexus exposed. 45 minutes on the clock. Much slower by KONGDOO, much less control from this squad. But the Nexus will fall in the end. It's still a 2-0 regardless, as they find themselves another victory.
Yeah, 5 minutes ago, they took too many shortcuts and the game does extend out. But second time around, BDD feels like 8.4 Ryze with the new Seraph's Embrace, mana, and ability power synergy buffing up the Ryze. This was 8.3 Ryze, but a monstrous amount of damage. Just training down the Cassiopeia twice in a row. KONGDOO and DragonX do win 2-0. But a little bit of a comment, respect where respect is due for KONGDOO Monster. It was a much improved performance overall, and especially in Game 2, where you could say they led the charge for the first 20 minutes of the game. They looked a bit unfamiliar in that role and did unfortunately not be able to find the 3rd, 4th, 5th step. But they've been struggling on Step 1 and Step 2. Step 1 and Step 2 looked in position here, and a performance like this, as the opposition inevitably gets a little bit softer as the season goes on, will definitely be helpful to see KONGDOO Monster find more game wins that right now are few and far between.
Yeah, I mean, this is a 2-0 victory that KONGDOO probably isn't going to feel ecstatic about.
No.
It was way too rough for them, not nearly as concise as they would have liked. So, despite the victory, still some criticism to be had, especially around the bottom lane there for Prey, who had multiple slip-ups, giving up that kill, going way too deep, trying to fountain dive somebody essentially by himself near the end of the game. So, whether he was trying to have a little bit of fun and ended up with too much of it, that is for the coach to decide. But either way, I'm sure these guys are going to be having a conversation and maybe even a slight review, at least over game number 2 here at the end of the day.
KONGDOO play SKT on the first match day of next week. That's sort of play that SKT looks like, and wonders, do we take something from this, or is it because of their opposition? And it's always hard to know. So, true test coming for KONGDOO next week against SK Telecom T1. Here against KONGDOO Monster, it wasn't their best foot forward, but they didn't need their best foot to be able to beat KONGDOO Monster.
Yeah, and you can see there, tons of damage being dealt by Soul. This was much more of a, a past performance from Soul that we kind of expected going through the years. He was always the beacon of light on this team, and his damage certainly shown through, doing well over 1,000 DPM here. But in the end, that concise call by BDD, knowing his limits, just assassinating Edge twice in a row, 1v1, leads to the end of the game.
You feel like this is the game where if they could have had Raze at 20 minutes, they would have been able to be a bit smarter on the macro rotations. Having a more youthful lineup with less shot callers, Raze their primary shot caller normally, did cause them to struggle to actually profit 20 minutes onwards when they had a super farmed Caitlyn who was doing great things. But let's focus on the side of KONGDOO. The MVP here will be BDD. Some slick moves, some unbelievable damage on a Ryze is usually about the utility, and well, the utility was pretty good as well.
Yeah, the Realm Warp calls going through, giving them the Baron. Beautiful stuff from him, and we're going to have, I believe, a 4 or 5-way tie now for that 3rd place spot. People just trying to get up there to Tucson and Def, but just nipping at the heels for now.
The top 3 mid laners in Korea, I believe, are also reflected in MVPs. I believe Faker, BDD, and Kuro have been the 3 best. This was a great performance by BDD, catching off Yujun when the enemy team was strongest, and in general, always being in the right position. Was it time for a flank? BDD was there. Was it time for a Realm Warp? BDD was on point. Super clean from him on the ultra comfort of the Ryze.
Really well done by him. Great control there from BDD. And yes, I believe a 4-way tie now for that 2nd place as he and Peanut both move up into those standings to match Kuro and Faker. Khan very shortly behind. Too far.
Hard to win the
500.
MVP when you're on a team like KingZone because there are so many people that raise their hand every game and say, it's time for me to pick up the MVP. I'm going to hard carry today. But BDD's been consistent recently, and we had to speak to him again.
That we do. BDD and Peanut going to be our MVP interview, so this should be a pretty entertaining one, as Peanut's always pretty high energy. Let's see what he has to say about the Olaf from game number 1 as we go to Andy today for the translations.
Hey guys, the current rank 1 KingZone DragonX takes down the underdogs KONGDOO Monsters with a 2-0 convincing win. We are now sitting down with Peanut and BDD for the MVP interview.
가장 먼저 오른 팀이 되었네요. 승리의 주인공들 함께 만나보도록 하겠습니다. 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 네, 현재 킹존이 2라운드 3연승을
Okay, KingZone DragonX
가장 먼저
keeping up their consecutive wins.
기분이 굉장히 좋을 것 같은데.
How do you feel?
BDD 선수 뭐 어떠세요?
일단
BDD,
오늘 경기 되게 불안불안했는데
I mean, like, we've shown shaky moments,
보완해서 다음 경기 준비해야 될
but I think we'll try to show a better performance in the next game.
어떤 부분들이 좀 불안했는지 혹시?
Like, what was the shaky moment actually?
잘 정리 안 됐었고
I mean, our calls weren't coordinated,
되게 게임도 많이 꼬이고 그래서
and the game has gotten a little bit complicated.
표정이 되게 맑아 보이진 않는데 어쨌든
I mean, you don't look overly happy today.
가져가긴 했습니다. 피넛 선수 오늘 뭐 경기 어떠셨어요?
Peanut, for you, how was the game?
그러니까 이제 이 세트가 약간 좀 많이 불안불안해서
You know, the second set was a little shaky and we stumbled a lot, but I'm happy that we won.
확실히 피드백들이 좀 계속 하더라고요, 이야기를.
그래서 오늘 또 이제 교체 멤버를
You know, Peanut, you were subbed out and Cuz came in,
멋진 경기력을 선보이려고 했던 것 같아요.
and Cuz showed a good performance as well.
이렇게 좀 대기실에서 보면은 막 이렇게 의견도 많이 나누면서 피드백도
You know, do you guys have a lot of opinions and feedbacks at the when you guys are benched?
상대팀 시야까지 보니까
예.
이제 당연히 피드백 할 수.
So you know, yeah, we do give a lot of peer feedbacks,
대기실 볼 때는 피드백을 많이 더 나눌 수 있는 것 같아요.
and I think it's good to give feedbacks to each other.
오늘 사실 피넛 선수가 굉장히 신선한 그리고 또 정글을
Peanut, you actually played a rather fresh jungler today. You played Olaf jungle.
배경에 대해서 혹시
What was the reason behind it?
일단 스크림에서 한번 당해봤고 그리고 이제 다시 이제 LCS는 지금 8.4거든요.
I mean, like when Olaf ults, it can be CC immune and it removes the Scanner ult. And Olaf is actually used a lot in the NA scene. So I think it's a pretty good jungler actually.
네. 그러면 이 스카너를 상대가 좀 내주고 올라프를 가져간 듯한 그런 인상도 좀 들었는데.
So you guys gave the Scanner away and took the Olaf instead.
느낌 있는데 맞습니까?
네,
Is that right?
미드 정글 싸움에서 올라프 궁 때문에 이제 스카너한테 죽을 위험이 없어서
In the mid jungle fight, the Olaf ult enables Olaf to just go in without getting ulted by Scanner.
올라프 정글이 또 오랜만에 나와서 많은 팬분들이 좀 궁금해하실 것 같아요. 이 올라프
I mean, it is a long time since Olaf has come out in the LCK scene as a jungler.
구속 쪽에 신경을 좀 많이 쓰셨던 것 같은데.
I mean, you seem to have cared a lot about the movement speed.
일단은 생각나는 팁은 제가 재작년부터 올라프를 했었는데
I mean, one tip that I can give
잘 나왔었거든요.
is that I've played a lot of Olafs in the past,
스타트일 때는 그냥 강타를 블루에 쓰고 스타트하는 게 좋다고
and I think it's better to use the smite early on the blue golem than just saving it for later.
정글링 먹는 거 그 정도? 그 팁밖에 기억이 안 나는 것 같아요.
네.
알겠습니다.
정글링 속도에 있어서 또 체력 관리하는 꿀팁을 알려주신 것 같아요.
그렇죠.
So I think that's a pretty good tip.
BDD 선수는 항상 뭐 라인정 상성의 역사를 새로 쓰는 선수라는
You know,
평도
BDD,
있으나
you always show that strong lane prowess.
기준으로 상성을 정해야 된다 뭐 이런 얘기도 있는데.
You know, you almost seem to have no counters,
갑자기 생각나는 게 탈리아는 또 안 하셨어요.
but you didn't actually pick the Talia today. What was the reason?
사실 탈리아가 그래도 선픽하기에는 살짝 부담되는
I mean, Talia is a little risky when you pick it first.
선픽하기 좀 부담스럽기 때문에.
네, 르블랑이나 이런 것들이 저는 살짝
You know, LeBlanc and other kind of mid champions can actually counter the champion.
지금 탈리아가 4승 6패거든요.
예.
You know, BDD, your Talia is 4 wins, 0 loss.
그럼에도 불구하고 방심할 수 없다. 또 이런 의지가.
But BDD always can't let down his guard
말씀드리면 좋을 것
and
같아요.
decides to pick the other champ.
오랜만에 또 전에 인터뷰했을 때 강타 싸움 요즘 좀 자신 없다 이런 얘기도 있었는데.
You know, Peanut, you have told us before that you are always confident in the smite wall.
BD 선수가 아마 잡히면서 상대에게 좀 기회가.
Okay, here's the highlight.
오랜만에 또 작전명 왕으로 나왔어요.
뺏을 확률 몇 %라고 생각하셨어요? 딱 느낌으로.
So, did you have confidence that you were gonna get the smite right?
심리적으로 지금 상황은 상대는 못
You know, psychologically, I was thinking that if I don't get the smite, that our team will lose. And then luckily, I got the smite, right? So I'm happy.
좀 많이 못 뺏어서 위축돼 있었는데 오늘 먹어서 다시 좀 잘 뺏을 수 있다.
Yeah, so I'm generally happy that I was able to pull off the Baron steal.
그러면서 동시에 이뤄졌던 게 막 지배한 운영이었는데 프레이 선수가 본인의 목숨을 던지면서까지 상대를 막 지연시키는 장면도
You know,
나왔어요.
Prey has shown moments where he sacrificed his life to delay the enemy's Baron.
맵을 보긴 했었는데 사이온이 탑 작은 부시 있잖아요. 거기서 사이온 보인다 했는데 갑자기 종인이 형이 팍 하는 거예요.
You know, we saw Sion and then Prey just suddenly appeared and just died.
살짝 제가 그쪽에 말해줘서 살짝 안일하게 된 것 같아요.
So I think that was a mistake by us.
들어간 건 아니었죠.
알면서 들어갔고요.
이게 맞는 것
알면서
같은데.
그러니까 이제 대충 생각은 했는데 이제 종인 형이 수온을 너무 빨리 써서 수온만
No, Prey used the QSS a little too quickly.
뭐 하고 싶은 말이
And then it turned out to be a misplay.
그냥
네.
프레이 선수 얘기 나온 김에 팬분들이 그런 얘기를 하세요.
Okay, let's talk about Prey.
이즈 사랑에 대한
You know, Prey's love for Israel.
진짜 많이 했고 또
You know,
오랜만에
Prey
그래서
does
챔피언도
show
가끔은
a big love for Israel, and he plays it a lot.
하면 진짜.
So why do you think he plays Israel?
일단 옛날부터 낮은 시절부터
I mean, it's his comfort pick since the Najin times,
가자해서 제 생각에
and he is really good at champion.
제일 잘하는 선수가 준식형이랑
So I do personally think that the best Israel players are Bang and Prey.
BDD 선수 2세트 멋진 장면을 라이즈로
BDD, there was a fascinating moment in the second set with the rise.
기억나세요? 본인
한 두 장면 기억나는 것
Do you see? Do you remember this moment?
일단 이게 하나고.
네, 맞아요.
일단 이 라이즈 카시 구도는 좀 어떻게 생각하세요?
What do you think about the Rise and Cassiopeia matchup?
선입견이 있는 챔피언 상성 구도라고 생각 안 해서 라이즈도 충분히 할 만하다고 생각.
I mean, there are stereotypes where people say that Cassiopeia does tend to counter Rise, but I think it's not really a counter.
살짝 생각나긴 해요.
알겠습니다. 역시 MVP를 또 받았는데 사실 2세트 본인들이 스스로 아까도 말씀.
In the second set, you guys actually confessed
쉽지 않았죠.
that the game wasn't too easy.
그래서 아마 2세트에 대해서 생각할 것이 굉장히 많은 것 같아요.
So I guess you guys have a lot to think about the second set.
그랬어도 이렇게 10승고지를 가장 먼저 점하면서 여전히 가장 강력한.
You guys are just on a uprise, defeating every opponent.
부탁드릴게요. 피너 선수부터네.
네네.
Peanut, you too.
이제 다음 경기는 저희가 이제 8.4 패치 버전으로 하게 되는데.
You know, next game we'll be playing on the patch 8.4,
준비할 시간 별로 없어서 좀
and
걱정되긴 하는데
we don't have too much time to prepare for it, so I'm a little worried. But I'll try to deliver the best performance I can.
네, 감사합니다.
네, BDD 선수도
And BDD, you?
저희가 오늘 경기력에 살짝 불안했는데.
You know, our performance today wasn't too great, but we'll try to implement better maneuvers and show great performance in the next time.
네, 10승 기록과 함께 굳건히 1위를
Kings and DragonX achieving their 10-win streak, and that is the end of the interview. We'll throw it back to the casters.
Thank you very much, Andy, for the translation. Always good to hear from those guys there.
But Peanut's a liar. He says that he picked up Olaf from the LCS. There's been no games in the LCS or the NACS this year of Olaf, Peanut.
He didn't say when. He didn't say when he picked it up.
You can't decide a new pick based on 2017 picks. He's talking about Reignover's Olaf. We know. But, yep, no Olaf this year. So, Peanut, you've been caught. You're not watching NALCS at all.
I'll have to go in the back room and call him out during the break here. But yeah, Kingzone with a 2-0. Definitely not as easy as the scoreboard might entail and what you might think looking at it from the outside. But they do maintain their spot as the Kings of the LCK so far, plus 16 on their scoreline, 10 wins and 2 losses so far. And one of those teams that gave them a loss is going to be playing in our second set, Papa Smithy. It's going to be BBQ going
Nice
up against
transition.
Rocks Tigers. Thank you so much. I thought about that one just off the cuff.
And this is the weirdest match ever because you're like, okay, Rocks Tigers, they're the team that's way better than expectations. They should win. Then we have BBQ, who beats Kingzone, loses twice to MVP, and then just won against Jinair. So no one, legit no one, knows if BBQ are good or not. In fact, I think they're both at the same time, Achilles. They're good, bad, and bad, good at the moment. And unfortunately, how that shapes up against the generally good Rocks Tigers, we're not to know.
Yeah, this one could be a bit of a fiesta. So grab your red noses, put your face paint on. Might get a bit clownish up in here. See what happens when we do come back from that break. And again, guys, it's going to be a bit of a long one. 50 minutes until we see you again for that BBQ versus Rock matchup.
I hear that music though. Korean casts are wrapping up. 50 minutes of action. I'm gonna play some Bayonetta. I'm gonna have some fun. I hope you guys do too.
All right, we'll see you guys back here in 15 minutes.
No fear, tears always dry. Aim high, trust that you're able. You trust. That can never been helpful. These are my birds from my sweet child.
Coming up next, Rocks Tigers, BBQ Olivers, beginning of the end. 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Spring Split.